Good morning. Good morning. Let's get started by singing together.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome here to First Unitarian Church of Portland. We're a multi-generational community that strives to nurture the individual spirit and together build a beloved community. Welcome all gathered here in person. Welcome all joining us online today. If you're new among us, and we want to especially welcome you this morning, please join me and Jen Thomas, our Membership Engagement Coordinator, for a welcome circle that will happen right after the service. We'll gather in this gallery to my left, and we'd love to get to know you and see what questions you have about the church. Everyone is invited to social hour after the service. Join fellow congregants down in Fuller Hall, which is immediately below this sanctuary. And there are several things going on today in this very busy season. Following the service, you can come and see our kindergarten and first grade classes as they make their junior pageant in Elliott Chapel after the service. This is the 5-minute version of our Christmas pageant, and the little ones put this on. It's a blessing. That will happen after the service today. Also happening next door in our Buchanan will be the Alliance Holiday Sale. You can find all manner of lovely little gifts, and also you can enter a raffle, a chance to win one of 2 gingerbread houses. So that's next door in Buchanan. In Fuller Hall downstairs, once again, you can join a letter writing campaign calling for a ceasefire in the Middle East, writing letters to our elected officials. And finally, after the service today, there will be a gathering for young adults. That's at noon in the Blue Sky Library. That's in the building next door, close to the Elliott Chapel. Come and meet other young adults and network about how we might build more community among young adults here at our church. So a lot going on after the service today. And we are in the holiday season, and we have several special holiday services coming up. This Thursday evening will be our annual solstice service. That will be in our Elliott Chapel at 7 o'clock on Thursday. Next Sunday is Christmas Eve, and in the morning at 10:30 we will have our family service and our annual Christmas pageant. This is the 99th year of this tradition here at this church. The Christmas pageant will be next Sunday morning at 10:30, and next Sunday evening, Christmas Eve, there will be a candlelight service here in the sanctuary at 8 o'clock. And so as we gather in this season, let's take time now to greet one another. Let's greet our neighbors online and in person. Welcome, everyone.
We invite those of you who are at home to find a candle, or if you have a personal chalice, you are welcome to light your chalice with us in our sanctuary. We are Unitarian Universalists. We light this chalice in faith, in hope, and in love. And it is the 3rd Sunday in Advent. We light a candle for joy, for life is growing, for love is growing. The candle flickers, jumps, and dances, smokes and raises prayers up to the sky. May we make room for holy play, to be able to imagine the broken made whole once more.
There's a sweet spirit in this place. There's a sweet this place, watching over us, keeping us, resting in our soul.
There's a sweet spirit,
Sweet Spirit, yeah.
sweet spirit in here.
When I think about all that has been done, I've been sheltered from danger, seen and unseen. How do I show I'm thankful? Yeah. When I think about all the changes we have been through, yet we gather now, we are here, keeping each from falling and lifting when we're down. Oh yes, but there's a sweet, and it's watching over us and keeping us, resting on our soul. Yeah, there's a sweet,
Sweet spirit, there's a sweet spirit, sweet spirit in here.
When I think about how my life was saved one day, friends had changed their ever-changing hearts away. I was on my way up, but love had other hand. And I don't really know, I don't know where this leads, but here I am, yes, there is, yeah.
There's a sweet spirit in this place,
And it's watching us, keeping us,
resting on our soul.
yeah, there's a sweet,
Sweet spirit,
so sweet, yeah.
sweet spirit,
There's a sweet,
spirit, there's a sweet spirit,
sweet, sweet, sweet. Ah, there's a sweet spirit in here.
Our call to worship. The words are by Walter Royal Jones, Jr. Mindful of truth ever exceeding our knowledge and community ever exceeding our practice, reverently we covenant together, beginning with ourselves as we are, to share the strength of integrity and the heritage of the Spirit in the unending quest for wisdom and love. Let us sing with our fabulous choir our next song, Gather Round the Manger. Our responsive reading is by Leslie Takahashi. This is the season of anticipation, of expecting, of hoping, of wanting. This is the time of expecting the arrival of something or someone. We are waiting. This is the time of living in darkness, in the hues of unknowing, of being quiet, of reflecting on a year almost past, waiting for a new beginning, for a closing or an end. This is the time for digesting the lessons of days gone past, anticipating the future for which we are waiting. Waiting for a world which can know justice, waiting for a lasting peace, waiting for the bridge to span the divides which separate us, waiting for a promise or a hope. For all of this, we are waiting. Will you join in our doxology?
As I introduce our offering today, I want to have a special note. At last Sunday's music and worship service, the message introducing the offering contained inaccuracies. To avoid misunderstanding, just to note, money from the collection plate on Music and Worship Sundays is allocated 100% to the music department budget here at the church. It should also be noted that those collections from the Music and Worship plate cover only a small part of the total music budget. The gifts we make to our annual fund drive provide the vast majority of funds that support the music ministry of this congregation. This morning, we're sharing our plate with We Shine, which designs, builds, and operates neighborhood-based micro-villages that provide safe, transitional shelter with wraparound services for Portland's underserved, unsheltered adults as they prepare to become successful tenants in permanent, affordable housing. We Shine prioritizes BIPOC and LGBTQI+ applicants. To give, you can find a QR code shortly on the screen, or they're in the yellow cards here in your seats. And ushers will be by shortly if you'd like to give by cash or check. Thank you for your generosity today and all days. We make space each week in our Sunday service to hold up the concerns of our community life together. Just a reminder that every Sunday you can light a candle of intention in one of our side galleries. You can also leave a prayer intention to be held through the week by our ministers and lay ministers. And pastoral care is always available. Just call the church office if you need some support. Two concerns to share today. Member Joanne Hagensick is recovering from emergency surgery after an abscess from an infection was discovered in her throat. She was in the hospital for several days and is now recovering at a rehab center. Joanne's not quite yet up to visits, but welcomes our cards and texts and our good thoughts. We hold Joanne and wish her well in her continued recovery. And we celebrate with member Katie Raditz. She has a new grandchild. Delana Naline was born to Ying and Will Kloster on December the 9th. All are doing well. Katie says having a new child in the family at this particular time of the year is a source of great hope and joy. Blessings on everyone today. Will you join me in a spirit of prayer now? Spirit of life and of love, God of many names and of no name at all, hear our prayers that we bring. We come, Spirit, in this season when we mark the light and the dark, the gifts of each. What might be germinating in the dark? What gifts will come with the return of the light? Day by day by day, one season turning into another. Be with us, Spirit, as we find our way in these times. Help us to be present to the anticipation and joy of this season and to the tenderness that comes in this time, too. As we kindle lights to mark these days, may those lights and the light each of us brings help us as we make our way on this journey. We live in a world so full of cynicism and war, so full of violence and greed. May we bear witness to life in its fullness. May we see the world as it is, but also as it ought to be. In our living, may we do our part to bring love into the world. Bless us, Spirit, in all of our days. Amen. Let's take some time now and be together in silence. Let us sing together now. We can remain seated. Let Christmas come.
Story told, when days are
Our reading this morning is by Harriet Martineau, and it tells the story of the first Christmas tree in America. This was written back in 1838. I was present at the introduction into the new country of the spectacle of the German Christmas tree. My little friend Charlie Fallon and 3 companions had been long preparing for this pretty show. It was a very large party, for besides the children, there were papas and mamas, uncles, aunts, and elder sisters. When all were come, we shut out the cold. The great fire burned clearly, and the tea and coffee were as hot as possible, and the cheeks of the little ones grew rosier, and their eyes brighter every moment. It really looked beautiful. The room seemed in a blaze, and the ornaments were so well hung on that no accident happened, except that one doll's petticoat caught fire. There was a sponge tied to the end of a stick to put out any supernumerary blaze, and no harm ensued. I mounted the steps behind the tree to see the effect of opening the doors. It was delightful. The children poured in, but in a moment every voice was hushed. Their faces were upturned to the blaze, all eyes wide open, all lips parted, all steps arrested. Nobody spoke. Only Charlie leaped for joy. The first symptom of recovery was the children's wandering around the tree. At last, a quick pair of eyes discovered that it bore something eatable, and from that moment the babble began again. They were told that they might get what they could without burning themselves, and we tall people kept watch and helped them with good things from the higher branches. When all had had enough, we returned to the larger room and finished the evening with dancing. By 10 o'clock, all were well warmed for the ride home with steaming mulled wine, and the prosperous evening closed with mouths of mirth. By a little after 11, Charlie's father and mother and I were left by ourselves to sit in the new year. I have little doubt that Christmas tree will become one of the most flourishing exotics of New England.
joy, every stress and anxiety, it is gone. When I enter your rest, when I enter your rest, early in the morning, I'll seek your face. I find my life in the fullness of your joy. Every stress and anxiety, it is gone. When I enter your rest, when I enter your rest, I find my life in you. My peace is complete. Oh, my faith is refreshed. I'm telling you that I am surrounded by the power of your love. I find my life in you. My peace is complete. Oh, my faith is refreshed. I'm telling you that I am surrounded by the power of your love. Yeah. And the power of your love. By the power of your love. I am surrounded. I am surrounded by the power of your love. By the power of your love. I am surrounded. By your love, by your love, by your love, by the power of your love, by the power of your love, by your love, by your love, by your love, I am surrounded, I am Thank you. Beautiful. Christmas was once outlawed in this country. The Puritans, the country's original religious right wing, associated it with unrest, unruliness, and unchristian practices, and so they made the celebration of it a punishable offense. Whether you love Christmas or you cannot wait for this season to pass, you might be interested to know that it was the religious liberals and our spiritual great-great-grandparents who had a lot to do with the way that we celebrate. Unitarians and Universalists were among the earliest inventors and early adopters of the many Christmas traditions that we take for granted as part and parcel of this time of year. How times have changed, with Orthodox Christians waging a battle over the last couple of decades, claiming that they own the right way to celebrate, with signs like, "Put the Christ back in Christmas." The original Orthodox Christians and biblical literalists, the Puritans, did not want Jesus' birth celebrated at this time of year. Their view was, if we were supposed to celebrate the birth of the Savior, then God would surely have made the date clear. The Bible provides us with little to go on as far as the timing of the birth of Jesus, and biblical scholars suggest that it was most likely in the spring. And the Puritans most certainly did not approve of the fact that Catholics in Rome and Episcopalians in England had placed the celebration in December to convert and appease pagans who had long had the custom of celebrating a holiday of rebirth around the winter solstice and the new year. You're all invited to our winter solstice service later this week. And as I mentioned already, they disapproved of the raucous partying associated with the holiday back in Europe. In 1687, the Reverend Increase Mather, who is an ancestor of one of our office volunteers, so I hope you're listening. This is what he had to say about the Christmas revels. Quote, "The generality of the Christmas keepers observe that festival after such a manner as is highly dishonorable. They are consumed in compotations, interludes, in playing cards, in reveling, in excessive wine, and mad mirth." Christmas caroling, or what was called wassailing, was for them a prime example of the excessive and wild behavior. In 1725, the Reverend Henry Bourne cried, "Christmas caroling is a disgrace, generally carried on amidst rioting and chambering and wantonness." Christmas celebrations were viewed as dangerous to the order of society. In Europe, the working class observed the holiday by celebrating in the streets, drinking, making lots of noise, and wearing costumes. It was a time to let off steam, to rest, as there was no work to be done in the fields. And there was plenty to eat. The slaughter was complete, and meats were being salted and smoked, and wine and beer was ready. Workers would stop by the homes of their employers and be served lavish amounts of food and drink. The Christmas season was an important practice of class role reversal and a means by which business owners expressed gratitude for their workers' labor throughout the year. The season was much longer than it is today. It stretched from late November all the way until the beginning of Lent in early February. By the mid-1800s, wassailing practices escalated, though, to the point of riots. Urban merchants and the wealthy began to pool money in order to hire extra police officers to keep order in the streets. But Christmas is an opportunity to be reminded that there are better ways, ways of reformation and revolution, to be able to create peace and a more just society. Once in a while, I hear modern-day Unitarian Universalists side with the Puritans, at least on the following point, that the excesses of Christmas have reached such extremes that perhaps we should do away with the holiday altogether. But let's look back and see what was originally intended by our spiritual great-great-grandparents when they first launched the holiday in this country. The Unitarians and the Universalists in the late 1700s and the 1800s wished to tell a Christmas story that would influence the morals and the culture of their time. On one hand, I do need to name that they did aim to control seasonal excesses. Hence, wassailing was converted into hymn singing in church about the birth of Jesus and with a compelling vision of peace on earth. The Universalists held one of the earliest Christmas Day services in Boston in 1789, before they had even organized their first formal church. And by the 1800, the Unitarians were calling for a public observance of the holiday. To them, it did not matter that December 25th was not biblically accurate. They weren't celebrating because it was an order from God, but rather because it was an organic outgrowth of what they wished to celebrate about the person of Jesus and the values that they wanted to promote in the world. At first, their version of Christmas at church without wine and the like, rather than Christmas on the streets, was slow to catch on. But when it was promoted by Unitarians and Universalists as a holiday centered around hearth and home, it took off. And it had far more to do with Santa Claus than Jesus. It was the sometimes Unitarian Clement Clark Moore and the Unitarian Thomas Nast, who coincidentally lived in Morristown, New Jersey, where I moved here from, who solidified how we imagine Santa Claus in this country. You know the story. A jolly old elf of a man who brings children presents in the middle of the night that we find in our stockings or underneath the tree on the morning of December 25th. Clement Clark Moore penned his famous poem, "'Twas the Night Before Christmas," originally titled "A Visit from St. Nicholas" in 1823. You'll notice that in that poem, at first, Santa is thought of as so small that he needs to stand on a chair in order to reach the chimney. But Thomas Nast's illustrations have him grow into the much taller, rounder, red-suited man that we have come to know and love. Mr. Nast, and this is very important, also shares that Santa's home is in the North Pole, a symbol that he exists for all children of the world and belongs to no one. The important thing to notice is that with the tradition of Mr. Claus, we see a move again from the streets into homes, and the role reversal shifts from the wealthy serving the poor to parents serving their children. The cult of domesticity is being born with all of its possibilities and all of its harms for women, people of color, and people on the margins of society. If we listen and look very carefully at the illustrations and at the words, we will notice the transformation of Christmas. Clement Clark Moore mentions that his nose is like a cherry, from drinking perhaps, and his stump of a pipe, an association with someone who cannot afford a long pipe. But one of Thomas Nast's most famous drawings of Santa shows him with a very long pipe, an artifact of a moneyed class and a signal that Christmas is changing. There is still a role reversal, as children who were once considered property, we have to remember that, are now those who benefit from the generosity of their parents and in the role of being served, when on all other days it would have been the opposite. Many of these Unitarians and Universalists were reformers, including engaging in the children's rights movements. An important concept you would have heard at the time is spare the rod, spoil the child. And when child abuse and abhorrent treatment of children, especially children of color in workplaces, went unchecked, this role reversal was critical. The attention centered on children and gift giving mostly was handmade, modest gifts, nothing like the malls or the Cyber Mondays of today, were meant to change the norms of society around how we raise children. While Orthodox Christians believed that punishment was the best way to cultivate morality, Unitarians believed that if you showed generosity and compassion to your children,
then they would grow up to be generous, compassionate adults who had the capacity to contribute to the moral good of society. The tradition of the Christmas tree was a perfect addition to this direction, and the Unitarian minister Charles Follen introduced it to this country. He also happened to be an ardent and outspoken abolitionist, for which he lost his teaching position at Harvard. And two Unitarian writers, Harriet Martineau and Catherine Sedgwick, witnessed that first Christmas tree and helped spread it through their storytelling. And it's important to note that Charlie Follen, his son, is the focus of the story we heard from Harriet Martineau because Reverend Charles Follen was so controversial that she wrote his name out of the story. A solitary Christmas tree was set up in the Boston home of Charles Follen in 1832. He remembered the German Christmases of his youth, and he wished to recreate the magic and beauty of a decorated tree. He went out into the woods and cut down a small fir tree, set it in a tub, and on its branches hung small dolls, gilded eggshells, paper cornucopias filled with candy fruit. And of course, that tree was illuminated with lit candles. It was a stunning sight, and Martineau's and Sedgwick's recollections helped spread the tree through middle-class homes in the 1840s. And to this day, the Fallen Church in Lexington, Massachusetts, has a Christmas tree fundraiser where they sell Christmas trees to the town every year. And of course, perhaps one of the most beloved influencers on Christmas who identified as Unitarian was Charles Dickens and his classic Christmas Carol, published in 1843. Dickens helped recraft the spirit of Christmas toward a focus on the spirit of generosity and family, and again, justice and fairness in society. He transformed Christmas from a sacred festival into a family feast, and in his version, accessible to everyone, lower class, middle class, upper class. Christmas was a sacred day, but not a holiday, so people had to go to work. They weren't able to come to a church in the morning. But in Dickens' Christmas, they come together and gather after work in the evening. A Christmas Carol reasserts the holiday's message and the connection to injustice. These were the days of the Irish famine and severe depression. In 1839, it was estimated that nearly half of all funerals in London were for children under the age of 10. Those who survived grew up without education or resources and virtually no chance of escaping the cycle of poverty. Dickens, like the Unitarian Horace Mann in the United States, felt that that cycle of poverty could only be broken through free education. The Ghost of Christmas Present shows the twin children, ignorance and want, to Scrooge. Dickens' support for education did not waver, although compulsory education for all children was not mandated until 1870, the year of Dickens' death. Here are the words about Christmas in the mouth of the nephew of Scrooge. There are many things from which I might have derived good, by which I have not profited, I dare say, returned the nephew. Christmas among the rest. But I am sure I have always thought of Christmas time, when it has come round, apart from the veneration due to its sacred name and origin. If anything belonging to it can be apart from that, as a good time, a kind, forgiving, charitable, pleasant time. The only time I know of in the long calendar of the year when people seem by one consent to open up their shut-up hearts freely.
and to think of people below them and above them as if they were really fellow passengers to the grave and not another race of creatures bound on other journeys. And therefore, Uncle, though it has never put a scrap of gold or silver in my pocket, I believe that it has done me good and will do me good. And I say, God bless it. The agitation of Unitarians, Universalists, and other religious liberals eventually led to Christmas becoming a federal holiday in 1870. As we enter this week before Christmas, remember, it has never been one type of celebration. Let that be an invitation to celebrate it in a way that brings more light, understanding, peace, joy, and justice to your life and to the lives of those around you. So come to church and sing carols of peace. We already sang "It Came Upon a Midnight Clear," the first carol to peace in history. And we are about to sing "I Heard the Bells on Christmas Day" by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, who wrote that song as a resistance to war in a time of war. For hate is strong and mocks the song of peace on earth, goodwill to all. So come to church and hear the story of the birth of Jesus. And remember that in our church, we celebrated on the wrong day on purpose because biblical literalism isn't important. And the chance to tell a story about one child making a difference and inviting us to join him is the point. So find a way to support labor movements and ways to notice and give thanks to all the people whose work contributes to your life. The teachers, the postal employees, the farm workers, and everyone who contributes to your life and to the lives of so many. And join in living wage campaigns. So invite friends or family over and remember the gift of joy and love doesn't even need to be wrapped. And do your part to ensure every child receives a gift to remind them they are worthy. And this year, the war on Christmas is coming in part with a rant about Santa Clauses and nutcrackers being diverse. The rainbow flags, the multiracial identities, and the representations of different abilities are apparently deeply disturbing to some. So I invite you to purchase, if you are someone that buys things at Christmas, a Progress Pride flag-holding nutcracker. And apparently, a black Santa in a wheelchair is upsetting Fox News. So do buy diverse images of Santa, who is supposed to remind us that every one of us is meant to be included in the story. He is fictitious anyway. Claim your unorthodox ways of celebrating and remind your friends that this is an unorthodox holiday at its heart. So there is no one way to do it. And it turns out this is for goodness sake. Merry week before Christmas to one and all.
So just a quick reminder to parents to pick up your children at 1:15 and then go to Elliott Chapel to witness our kindergartners and first graders deliver our 5-minute junior pageant. I hear there may be different numbers of Marys and Josephs, so we'll find out what the story is. And all are invited, people of all ages, in Elliott Chapel at noon. And you'll be right by the Alliance sale as well. And now, in our going, may the light of love bless us and keep us. May it shine down upon us. May it radiate out from within us. May it be gracious unto us. And may it make of all of us community builders and peace builders. For this is the day that we are given. So let us rejoice in it and be glad. Go in peace. Practice love. Amen.